funny thing about the internet thing, I remember when we went, because we'd go to Barnes & Noble or something to access.
Yeah.
we
took a lot of
like
trips
just
to
got your
Barnes &
laptop.
Noble. It wasn't the library we went to. It was Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, it was. So when we went to Barnes & Noble, I remember I was walking to the kids section. You guys were like sitting there, and then like you guys
had
like,
our computers.
Hey, you want to see the new trailer for the new Avatar movie? And I'm like,
I remember that.
I think it's the Airbender movie. I'm like, oh, sure, I heard that's coming out. Whatever.
And just James
so
Cameron's
I'm like,
Avatar.
You put on the trailer. I'm like, what the heck is this sci-fi? And I'm like watching. Like,
I don't remember the blue people in it. Like,
what blue people? What the heck? This is it.
I remember when I saw that too. I remember thinking like, oh my god, that's real.
So cool, man.
That looks real.
It's coming out December. What?
I feel like
changed the world.
Still, no one's been able to.
I remember like
mimic
expecting
that.
Airbender and being blown away by James Cameron.
Oh yeah,
I was
changed
like,
the world.
And I was like, it was perfect age too. I was like 11 or 10 at the time, and so I was like, whoa, bro,
whoa, dude.
Same thing like because the year before or 2 years before it was Transformers, and you're like, that was the most ethereal experience as like a 10-year-old. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah, you were little, huh?
I was super little. I was like 9 years old when we went to go see it with the youth group and all that.
That's awesome.
It was like,
I feel like we were still like, I don't know. We were always told we were like late bloomers when it came to like.
We got to see a lot of stuff.
That's later.
Oh, okay.
I have something about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
But I think that the only thing was like the M-rated games. So like I think it was probably BioShock because I saw the trailer and I thought it was so cool that they were mixing this horror. Yeah, I would be able to watch horror movies and stuff when I turned 18.
Yeah,
because there were certain horror movies and especially games that like intrigued me. I remember when the trailer for Dead Space 2 came out, the Lullaby trailer.
We were like obsessed with the trailers for the game, not even the game. Just like,
I was like, what?
The editing and
like I have to experience this game, but I didn't have an Xbox, so I couldn't play it. I couldn't play any of them. And then when I did get an Xbox, it was many years later.
You're like the meme of Deku like pointing at his computer and crying.
Yep,
because you couldn't have it.
I couldn't have it. So I guess it was video games because like M-rated video games and like stuff I couldn't access yet, like. Because video games were totally different than movie. I never felt that way about anime. But like with a video game, I'm in the game. I'm experiencing that world. So I guess that's the only thing I felt about it.
I think about the kids nowadays, like when we were their age, like our nieces and nephews. I think about like them right now, and it's like a totally different world, like where you do have access constantly to the internet.
So easy
and
now.
It's so easy to access content and stuff like that. But like, I kind of also think like some of the kids we know as well, like I'm not gonna say what they watched, but I remember Josh told me that Thad let them watch like a show only episode 1 of a certain show that came out.
Yeah, I know what it is.
And yeah, I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah, you don't.
But
have to say it.
I was like so surprised. I'm like, are you?
We were like,
serious?
What?
I like gave a double look. I'm like,
are
excuse me?
Excuse you?
Did you just say what I thought you said? That show? Really? And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, Rory couldn't watch it, but we've had to fast forward one.
And then Rory went and did the same thing that we all did as kids and like hid behind a wall.
Yeah,
as everybody else watched.
Remember when we were kids?
Like ran to the bedroom to pretend.
Yeah, like we're like sneaking around the corner watching like in the way back wall where the living room is.
Yeah, the TV was facing the back hallway where we could sneak around like tunnels.
We're like standing there watching, and then like obviously they know. No, if we get caught, we get sent. But like. There's so many nights where like we're trying to sneak on what mom and dad.
We're like commando crawling, like
like
through
underneath
the
table, and like if
under the table,
one floorboard moves, you're like, oh.
We're dead.
Or like you're playing GBA in your bed, and you're like, and you're like slam that clamshell Game Boy down and hide underneath the covers. And Dad's like,
I heard that.
Looks good to me. And he walks back to the living room. Well, also one time, like I almost got caught watching whatever they were watching. I don't even know what the stuff was anymore. But I run back to bed and I'm like, I'm just holding my Game Boy, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get caught. But it's not as bad. It's not as bad as getting caught watching whatever they were watching. It was stuff like Forrest Gump or something. It wasn't even that bad.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
But it was like just like
probably stuff you shouldn't be watching.
Like
if you're
we shouldn't
under,
be watching
12.
City Slickers 2. But like we were watching it, and then like there was a part where like Billy Crystal's telling this guy about sex or something, and then like I just feel hands cover my ears from behind me, and it's you, Chelsea.
Yeah,
like,
I think that's funny.
All right, you're gonna go back to the movie.
I think it's so funny. Like our parents were so.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, what are they talking about? I don't know.
Yeah,
and
like our parents were so cool because they would edit R-rated movies so we could watch them.
Yeah, like
under 10 years old. I was a child when I watched Jaws. I was
Jaws
like,
isn't
"Fuck."
even rated R.
Yeah, it is
No,
now.
it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Jaws is not rated R.
It was rated R.
Oh.
But I remember
But like
I
stuff
was
like Lethal
but
Weapon,
dude, I was
like the
5.
first one, like she'd edit that.
A better example is
What's a good example? I can't even
well,
remember.
actually, well,
Well,
maybe
what
it was
about like a
later.
hard R movie?
Oh, Die
Backdraft.
Hard.
No, Backdraft.
Oh,
Backdraft. Yeah, we
Okay.
watched
So
Backdraft.
there was TV version. I don't
Yeah,
know if they
TV
do them
versions.
we were
anymore.
like 6
Yeah.
years
But there
old.
was
And
like
then she would
TV
even edit
versions
those
where
versions. I
the
remember.
channel will edit the language and then she just had to edit out like
The
if there was
sex
a
scenes or
sex scene or
something, yeah.
anything.
Or
like
if
that.
like if there was
But-
like a really extreme death or something.
But I
like,
have
really
a
gross.
memory of sitting on the couch, and I guess she didn't know I was there. I'm just
After this,
sitting on the
I
couch.
said-
I was like,
go.
okay, I was like 12
Uh-huh.
or 13, and
this is-
Backdraft
this
was
is-
she had
yeah.
put in her tape of Backdraft, like
Okay.
the bought
So it's the
tape.
bought
it's
tape.
not
So it wasn't
edited.
the edited.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not edited. And when I told her this like later, I was like, yeah, I remember. I have a memory watching it on the couch and them spouting the F word, and I never really heard the F word before
Yep.
because we weren't a household that did that. So
Mhm.
like they were like shouting the F word at each other at the hospital
And
scene
you're
where
like,
that one guy
huh?
got to hurt, where that one guy was dying or
Oh my
whatever,
God.
and they're like fighting in the hallway and they're like effing each other off and everything. And I'm just like sitting there, I'm like looking over at mom and she's watching it, and like I'm just watching it like whatever. I'm like, I guess that I'm like, I think that's a bad word. I'm not sure. And then like I told her this like
Was it enough to think
years
about it?
later. She's like, no, you weren't. I'm like, I was on the couch, dude. She's like, no, you weren't.
No, you
I would-
weren't.
She's like, I wouldn't have let.
never
Yeah,
let
she's
that
like, I
happen.
would have let you watch it. I was
Yeah.
like, well, it was late.
Well, I was there, yeah. Well, I think
You're
she-
like it's a core memory now.
Dude, she
so.
learned,
it is.
So she learned from that, I think, because she became learned about that situation, I think, immediately. Because when we watched Speed for the first time,
Oh yeah, that's
and
got
there's the
riddled
one
with
F
language.
bomb that gets dropped that Keanu drops off, and when he finds the bomb underneath the bus,
Yeah.
it was a big buildup for mom and dad. They're like, all right, so he's gonna say a word, and they were like doing
Oh
this as
wow,
an
they're
example.
giving
They're
you like a
like,
talk.
and you're never gonna say that word ever. You got it? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, let's just finish.
like,
I have
watching
no
this
idea
movie.
what you're talking
And so
about.
like,
but okay.
you know
he
why
looks
they
at
had
the
to say
bomb.
that to you?
He looks at
Do
the
you know why?
bomb. Huh? What?
Do you know why they had to tell you that?
Well, because I would repeat whatever I
Yeah,
hear. That's
yeah,
why,
you were
So,
a
like,
parent.
Yeah, so
We
like
called you the parent.
like,
Yeah, we did.
You better not say this, Jake. So like okay, whatever. And then like they play it. Keanu looks underneath the bus, looks
Says
back,
it.
and he's like F. And then I'm like, okay, whatever, big deal. Like it's just one word. I don't even know what it means. But dude, so there's like that. But also like in terms of like stuff that we probably shouldn't have seen that we were traumatized by. There's one time Kathy and Dan were up here with kids and we were hanging out, right? And Dan just found a DVD and threw it in the DVD player while everybody else is in the dining room next door.
Yeah.
And so like I go I go to the living room while you guys are setting up spoons or some board game. And he's watching Die Hard. And it's at the part where Hans Gruber
Yippee-ki-yay.
is interviewing the Asian dude, the Asian executive
Wait,
guy.
I think I
that
remember
blow- they-
this.
when they- and then he
'cause mom
blows-
chewed
yeah,
Dan out.
And so like
Yeah.
I'm sitting on the couch watching this, and Uncle Dan's like, hey, whatever, kid.
Yeah.
And, like he's just watching the Die Hard. And then like I'm sitting there and he's like threatening him, he's gonna shoot him, and the guy's not giving away the secrets. And Han Gruber's like, I want to shoot you, whatever.
yeah.
And so like I'm like watching it and I'm like, oh, he's not gonna kill him. He's not gonna shoot him. That just never happens.
Because you're
in
used to the
That
cutaway.
never happens
I'm
in
used to a cutaway.
movies.
I've never
Yeah.
seen anything like Die Hard before. I'm like, oh, yeah, he's not gonna kill him. He's not gonna happen. And then like
It happens.
finally, boom, and then just his brains splash onto the glass behind him. I'm like, and I was like mortified. I was like 7 or something.
Dude.
I was mortified. I'm like,
I'm so
"Ugh,
sorry."
ugh." And then Dan's like, yeah, whatever, kid, you should be fine.
Looks
And I'm
like a
like,
Muppet.
I'm like, "Ugh," I'm walking back to the kitchen. So funny looking back on it now, but I was horrified.
Yeah.
I was like traumatized when I saw
Yeah,
it.
at
Yeah.
the time you were
was
scared.
so-
but
oh my
it's a funny. Hey, you look back at it and you laugh now. right?
yeah. One time I need to tell Uncle Dan that. So,
Oh my god.
we're gonna have a great time with that. But anyway,
Okay.
let's go to our next question.